the other stuff that I was talking about, that had like longevity and could actually like go not just longevity, but also impacts various parts of an organization that you have to arm multiple people, multiple teams for. So that I think to me is the difference in a finding and an insight.
Yeah, I like to post the question that way because again, we want to help individuals get that seat at the table, and I guess really even understanding that part and the data storytelling side of what you have to do, it really is predicated on making sure you understand that if it's a finding or if it's an insight, and then where you go pedal to the metal at in explaining that. So I think that that's like the biggest lesson, especially when it comes to something that moves as quick as marketing. And you're
Yeah.
100% right. You don't want, like a gesture or some unforeseen weird like symbol that you may have on your hat that you don't know that it may be connected to something deeper that doesn't associate with your brand, right? So those are great call outs and very, very, very good way to kind of touch the marketing subject because those were one of the questions that I had. But to kind of wrap things up, and I was going to come here. We want to talk about trends, but specifically, what trends do you foresee in the space? Like, I mean, obviously, I know one that you're going to talk about is going to potentially be AI, but what are some of the trends that you see shaping this space of social intelligence, and how can others prepare to, you know, navigate through the changes that we see in the space?
Sure. I mean, I think we're in a transitional moment right now, right? Because of, as you mentioned, AI. So it's we're living the actual trend, like
Right.
as we speak. And I think that AI has and will continue to have an important part in the work that we do. It already is. It's helping me sift through data that would take me much longer to do. It's even when it's like sifting through data and it tells me something, I'm like, wait a minute, this is wrong. It's telling me that my Boolean query needs to be updated, right? So like even unintentionally, AI has been really helpful for me. So I think that AI will continue without a doubt to like across all industries, but in particular our practice of social intelligence, it will be something that won't replace what we do, but it will optimize. And that's what I feel like has been happening, right? I've seen this like optimization happen. I also think that, as tools are shifting and changing, like we still don't know if there'll be any governmental shift in regards to what we can or cannot do with TikTok, right? So that's still kind of a up in the air question. I think we'll know more in January of next year where we may or may not go in that regulatory direction. So that could have a big impact. And I think that is the theme, right? Again, going back to my regulatory roots here, it is how much government involvement, good or bad, however you perceive it, will have an impact, because we're seeing things that are happening in regards to privacy in European countries. And a lot of the companies that we work for are, multinational, global companies. So there's going to be some forcing on American companies or companies that are headquartered in America and then have presence outside, that are going to force us to revisit how we do things, like where we get the data, how we leverage the data, and also like, are we even going to have access to all of it? Probably not, right? So that I did a little chat on disappearing data recently for another conference that I was at, and that is absolutely true. I think that trend is also happening, right? Like the access to the data is definitely becoming a little more kludgy over time, and there's APIs that are closed. So I think for the future is social intelligence started off with social media. Then social intelligence started including all like digital media or most digital media. I think social intelligence is evolution, well, that it'll be continue to grow, but it'll also be pulling in or accessing other data elements and marrying that information together. So it'll be even more holistic than what we're looking at today. So that in its sense is much better. I think we're a ways from that, but I don't know, with AI, we might get there faster than we think. So those are some of the things that I think we're living the trends, but I think that there's some like unknowns out there with regulatory, global, as well as local, that may have an impact on what we can or cannot do. So TBD on that. But I think that we're still in that process of like figuring some things out with AI. So I don't have a full answer, but that's kind of what I'm seeing and kind of how I'm preparing for how I'm going to evolve my methodologies and how I approach pulling in data and just making sure that I'm also more tight with the other groups that are in charge of data within an organization as well. Because if we can really pull all of that together where appropriate, sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's the pie in the sky idea, is to be able to silo in the data across the entire organization so you can leverage all the many, many different data points that companies have. They have more than
We'll get
what they know what to do with.
Yeah. But
But
it's not just one tool. There's no holy grail tool. I used to want
yeah,
a holy grail tool. Now I know I don't want that. That's a Swiss Army knife. I want an amazing tool like Nishfire that's great at what it does. And I want to marry it with this tool that's great at what it does. Let everybody be really awesome at like one or two things. And then let me have the best of
right.
everything and let me pull that together and a la carte, so to speak, right? Like let me bundle the way that it makes the most sense for my organization and have the best of everything versus the holy grail that has everything in it, but they put a little more money and attention over here, even though my priority is over there. Like, so that's for me, I think that as much as companies are trying to go more pulling it all in holy grail style, I'm really hoping that we continue and really build tech stacks that are unique and really answer the questions and objectives of the organization itself. And that to me is a much bigger success for the brands as well as the clients.
Yeah, you. We'll have to, and I'm gonna try to get Frank on one of these episodes so he can talk about that. He has a wonderful representation of what a social intelligence tool stack could look like, how you should think about it, and exactly what you said. There's no holy grail. You don't want everything in one tool because how, and this is like kind of behind the scenes of a social digital data company owner, right? How the data comes into these systems is different for every different channel.
Yeah.
If you have an all-in-one, they're going to have some issues with some area, guarantee. And then, I mean, that's why the companies waste money trying to build these internal tools, and then they end up talking to niche buyers.